If there's one thing that we can count on in life, it's Grace Randolph completely missing the point when it comes to more intellectual films. But it's not only that she misinterprets things, but the real problem with her film criticisms is that she is rarely able to take her emotions out of the equation and look past her one-sided way of thinking. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I highly encourage you to watch my review of Civil War that is up on the channel now if you haven't already. And whatever you do, if you value real film criticism and you don't want to lose any brain cells, avoid Grace Randolph's review of the film at all cost. Now, this isn't the first time that I've had to expose the fraud that is Grace Randolph on this platform. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. She's entitled to her opinion just like everyone else. And you're right, she is. But the reality of the situation is, people like Grace Randolph, in my opinion, do not deserve the platform they have to talk about movies. Because everything she says has a skew to it. And it's specifically designed to manipulate her audience into making a film out to be something that it's not.
It's true.
It's not genuine criticism. What it is bull. And I'm sorry, but I just can't respect someone like that. Not when I'm working so hard to build my own platform off being truthful and honest. Not when I'm trying to build my platform by opening up lines of dialogue and trying to make film discussion what it once was. But you see, Grace Randolph doesn't do that kind of thing. What's most important to her is validation. And you might ask, what do I mean by that? Well, not only is she desperately seeking validation from her audience, which is why she tells them everything she thinks they want to hear, but also Grace is the type of critic, and I use that term loosely, who needs their own ideology validated in the movie in order for her to be able to enjoy that movie. We've repeatedly seen her dismiss or even bash universally praised movies quite a bit lately. Movies like Godzilla Minus One, or movies like Oppenheimer, or Killers of the Flower Moon, or yes, even this movie, Civil War.
But you one crazy ass b****.
And it's not so much that her analysis doesn't line up with my own. That's not the point of this. It's the way that she goes about criticizing these films, which I and a lot of other people have a problem with. The way that she does it either makes her look blissfully ignorant or 100% biased in every way. And this is why these film criticism is dead videos exist on my channel. It's not to go at people who have a different opinion than me. It's about going after people like Grace Randolph who make film criticism about their own ideology more so than they do the content of the film itself. It's weak-minded, toxic bullshit, and it needs to stop. Because all it really does is make it harder for other YouTubers to have a voice on this platform.
Help me help you.
We'll start with Grace Randolph's Rotten Tomatoes review of Civil War, where she says, bottom line, Alex Garland's Civil War is poorly researched. As a result, many things in the film don't make sense and feel inaccurate. Even when it comes to criticisms, the film is not just wildly irresponsible, but also not well made. You know what I've noticed? I've noticed that most, if not all of the people who are calling this film irresponsible are doing so because the film doesn't line up perfectly with how they view the world or the country. I'm going to make myself very clear. I do not talk politics on this channel because it's not the place for it, but I don't even talk them in real life because I flat out do not give a shit. Yet, do you know how many people leave comments on my videos assuming my political beliefs, all based on my movie opinions? If that sounds ridiculous to you, that's because it is. This is the type of that I have to deal with on a daily basis. This is how people think now. This is how people view the world, and it's f***ing annoying. They see everything through red or blue tinted glasses, and they expect everyone to see the world the exact same way. If you watch Grace Randolph's full interview of this movie, I don't recommend it, but if you do, she appears to be in the camp that she didn't like this movie because it did not pick a side politically. Because according to most people, you have to pick a side. The middle ground no longer exists to some. This movie, from my perspective, does not pick a side, and it's a big reason why it resonated with me after watching it. My only hope is that Hollywood takes notes and learns a few things from this situation and this movie. There is a way to relay messages in films without coming off as preachy and one-sided.
Message!
What bothers people like Grace Randolph most about Civil War is that it forces them to look themselves in the mirror and makes them realize that maybe they aren't the righteous people that they pretend to be. If you put your bias aside for a moment, you would see that Civil War isn't necessarily calling out specific pockets of humanity. It's calling out humanity as a whole. It's showing people the extreme consequences of living your life so divisively and constantly being at odds with others. Most of the time because you refuse to see things from a different perspective. And most of the time you are fighting for so long, like the forces in this movie, that you forget exactly why you started fighting to begin with.
I'm gonna go pick a fight.
What's really interesting about Civil War is that you do not know the political ideologies of these opposing forces. You can assume, but when you have a faction in the film that consists of a California and Texas unity, two polar opposites in real life, how can you sit there and tell me that this film takes a side either way? That's what scares people about this movie. People like Grace Randolph do not know how to process it because it's not consistent with their worldview or what they think they know. Grace Randolph is telling Alex Garland to not be irresponsible and to do his research before making this film. Did you ever stop and think that Alex Garland had no obligation to appease you with this film? Did you ever stop and think that he intentionally didn't make this recognizable to the country that you think you know? Alex Garland, like many other intelligent filmmakers, are 10 steps ahead of clowns like this. People who can't put their emotions aside long enough to appreciate what real artists are doing.
Why are you the way that you are?
I've already received pushback from my comments on social media and on my video, with people telling me that the film does take a side and that I don't know what I'm talking about. Do you think it's possible that you're seeing and hearing what you want to hear and that you went into this film with preconceived notions? Unlike a lot of people on social media and on this platform, I do not allow myself to get sucked into this culture war to the point where it affects my judgment. Are there appropriate times to call out Hollywood when they try to pull some disingenuous, heavy-handed bullshit? Absolutely. But a lot of people are starting to sound like the boy who cries wolf in this situation. It's starting to get difficult to decipher what is valid criticism and what is people getting worked up over nothing.
S-O-F capital T, soft.
Now, some people approached me and said I'm just not in the right headspace given everything that's going on in the world to watch a movie like this. And to those people I say I understand. For me, however, I'm looking at Civil War as a movie and nothing more because that's what the it is. If you truly want to be a great judge of media and you want to be able to respond to media on an intellectual level, then you need to take your emotions out of the equation, otherwise you will end up sounding just as clueless as Grace Randolph typically does. In reality, the movie makes perfect sense, and it's exposing people like Grace Randolph as being part of the problem. Learn to open your mind just a little bit and be open to different perspectives. And maybe, just maybe, you will start to gain back some of the credibility you lost as a movie critic. Because from what I can see, you have none, and I don't give a how many subscribers you have.
I don't care.
People like Grace Randolph give us YouTubers and online critics a bad name because she's the type of person who has her mind made up about a movie before she even sees it, and she doesn't even try to hide it. It's really bad, and you know that film criticism is in a bad place when the people who are supposed to be looking at these things on a deeper level instead need everything spoon-fed to them in the film, otherwise they are completely clueless and miss the point. Maybe if Grace Randolph spent a little less time blocking people on social media and a little more time listening, she might actually learn something.
Y'all be cool. Right on.